Now listening to the Spearsy Spin with your host, Mike Spears.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to March 1st, 2017, and the Spearsy Spin. Well, we got a few things to talk to you about today, and some of them are going to make your eyebrows raise because they're strange and yet odd. One of the things that came to us out of the blue was the worldwide UFO sightings. Say what? What does that have to do with politics? Well, I'm glad you asked. Supposedly, it depends, I guess it sounds more like an Inquirer story, but supposedly there are groups of people out there that believe that politics has gotten so bad that aliens are coming to your planet to make sure everything's okay. So we'll look at that. You know, sometimes when we get bored, we like to take vacations, or we like to go away, or we like to send people away. Well, nothing could be more fun than flying to the moon. What's that, you say? Flying to the moon? Yep, we're going to tell you how you can actually go into outer space and fly around the moon. That's coming up. Senator Mitch McConnell updates of what President Trump has been up to the last 5 weeks, gives his overview, his thoughts on that. And finally, we'll be looking into immigration reform time and how President Trump is going to be working with that. And of course, our show wouldn't be complete unless we heard a couple of jokes from the old Gipper himself, Ronald Reagan, with the Ronald Reagan laugh remedy. So, have you been looking up in the sky lately? Have you noticed anything strange? Lights blinking? Or, hey, perhaps maybe some sort of strange and yet odd alien ship or something. I don't know. I was totally unprepared for this. However, I can tell you that we have a clip here, courtesy of Fox News, that we have crossed a new threshold with regard to the number of UFOs sighted. And, I have no clue whether, the UFOs are out there or they're not. I don't spend a lot of time looking up in the sky. Well, that's a lie. I mean, after a night out, I'm usually laying on my back outside the bus. No, I'm joking, of course. But I really don't know, and I don't doubt anybody's stories. It's very possible that, maybe folks from outer space are here. But here's something that I probably don't really buy into, but this is beginning to get a thing. It's beginning to be a grassroots situation as I understand it. And that is, more and more people are starting to believe that the problems here on Earth have triggered a visit from folks from another world. Again, I don't know. I just don't know. But it has to deal with politics, and therefore it fits the genre, if you will. So, without further ado, here is the clip from Fox News. Now, this particular clip does not solicit the idea that aliens are here for the sole purpose of saving the Earth from ourselves, or ourselves from the Earth, rather than it just reports on how many sightings there are. I don't know. Wait a minute. Let me look out the window. Wow, there is something big and glowing. Oh, wait. No, that's just Michael Moore coming out of the pizza shop. Sorry.
UFO sightings around the world have reached an all-time high. According to data from the National UFO Reporting Center, UFO sightings experienced a boom in the 1980s. Reported sightings went from less than 5,000 in 1980 to about 10,000 in 1990. But between 1990 and 2000, sightings rose by nearly 30,000. In those 10 years, more than 45,000 sightings were recorded, a record. And it appears the spike in UFO sightings was not an anomaly, but a trend. In an 8-year period from 2002 to 2009, more than 36,000 UFOs were reported. Since then, more than 11,000 more UFOs were reported, with more than 47,000 being cataloged since 2010. Statistician and PhD candidate Sam Montfort brought this information to light. With the collection of data from the reporting center, Montfort found that individuals are far more likely to spot a UFO in the US than anywhere else in the world. He reports that on average, there are 2,500 sightings reported per 10 million people. That's 300 times higher than the global median. Northwestern and northeastern states have filed the most reports citing per capita. Perhaps with 7 new known planets in the universe, we could experience even more close encounters in the future. For Fox News, I'm Rob Demetrius.
So what do you think? I mean, does this increase in activity, does that mean that maybe one of those 7 planets has someone on it that thinks, hey, the Earth there, I don't know what's going on, but they seem to be needing our help there, so we better go down and check it out. Maybe, I don't know. I really don't know. But if they do come and they bring like a lot of ships or one gigantic ship, I have a list of people that I would like to put on the ship so they can, take them back. Michael Moore, let's see, Rosie O'Donnell, Alec Baldwin, almost all the actors out of Hollywood. Hey, it's time for my next segment. Oh, well.
Don't go away. We have to pay some bills, and then we're coming back with Mike Spears.
I'm a good person. I never bothered anybody. But I can't afford a nice house in a safe neighborhood. I live in a government high-rise. Gangbangers and drug dealers walk down our halls every day. My neighbors and I were scared. We called the police, but they can't keep us safe. Some of us are too afraid to even leave our apartments. But the housing authority told me if I bought a gun to protect myself, they'd throw me to the streets. If I'm not free because of my address today, what makes you think you'll be free tomorrow? I marched behind Martin Luther King at Selma. I know my rights. Now I have my gun. I am the National Rifle Association of America, and I'm freedom's safest place.
Hi, folks. Times we live in today are scary. Religious freedoms under fire, racial divide never more evident, political powers fighting, foreign countries looking to exploit our country, news media reporting unfair on issues, folks searching out the truth. I listen to the news, then I listen to the Spearsy Spin. Mike Spears has experience, education, determination, and grit to get what's going on in our country. Listen to Mike Monday through Friday. I'll listen. Hope you'll be listening too.
Hey, we are back. And if the alien spaceships being seen more and more and more and more, if that doesn't get you going, well, here's something that will. Now, if you're old enough to remember Ralph Cramden and his wife Alice, and he was going to send her to the moon all the time. Well, now you're going to have an opportunity, yes, an opportunity, I say, to actually go and see Alice where she landed on the moon. What's that you say? To the moon? Well, yes, to the moon, and here's how you'll do it. There is a company that says next year, 2018, two lucky human beings who have paid God knows how much money are going to get into a spaceship. You know, they don't have to fly it. It must be like one of those Google cars or something, or Tesla. And it'll take off and it will fly you around the moon. It'll fly you around the moon, and then I guess it goes for 300,000 or 400,000 miles. I don't know, maybe it'll stop for a burger. I have no clue. Pretty interesting stuff, but that actually made some news today. And I understand that the company may actually be getting some money down the road, either from Uncle Sam or NASA, possibly, for possibly, now that's just talk, but possibly so they can take people to the space station.
SpaceX is planning to fly 2 private citizens on a trip around the moon next year. Following a news conference call with reporters, tech billionaire and SpaceX founder and CEO Elon Musk tweeted, "Fly me to the moon." Okay. Musk announced that 2 passengers will embark on about a week-long trip around the moon. The paying passengers, who will be the only 2 individuals on board the spacecraft, will make a long loop around the moon, skimming the lunar surface and then going well beyond, perhaps 300,000 or 400,000 miles distance altogether. It's about 240,000 miles to the moon alone, one way. Musk says the 2 people, who know one another, approached the company about sending them into space. They have reportedly already paid a significant deposit to take part in the moon mission. When asked about the cost of the trip, Musk said, "I can't say the exact cost. That's confidential. It would be comparable to maybe a little more than what the cost of a crewed mission to the space station would be." According to Space.com, NASA currently pays about $80 million per seat on the 3-person Russian Soyuz vehicle. If the SpaceX moon mission is successful, it would be the first time since NASA's Apollo 17 mission, nearly a half-century ago, that a human being has been anywhere close to the moon. Musk says the moon trip will contribute to SpaceX's ultimate goal of establishing permanent Mars colonies. For Fox News, I'm Rob Demetrius.
Wow, that's really out of this world. And they're going to colonize Mars. Wonder who they'd like to take there. I'm guessing probably not me. I don't think I'd do good on Mars. You know, they got all the wind and the sand, you know, allergies and stuff. So there you go. Next year, well, you can't get on it next year because the tickets are already sold, and it appears as though there's only 2 tickets. You know, I don't build spaceships, and I'm not a professional, but I think I would have built it so maybe a few more people could go. I mean, you know, maybe get a little bit more bang for your buck, huh? Well, that's just me. Coming up next, we're going to be talking about Senator Mitch McConnell, and he's going to be updating us, so to speak, with President Trump's last 5 weeks, how he's making out, his thoughts, his concerns, and that type of thing.
President Washington began this tradition in 1790 after reminding the nation that the destiny of self-government and the preservation of the sacred fire of liberty is finally staked on the experiment entrusted to the hands of the American people. For our friends in the press who place a high premium on accuracy, let me say, I did not actually hear George Washington say that. I will not make age an issue of this campaign. I am not going to exploit, for political purposes, my opponent's youth and inexperience. Russian arguing about their 2 countries, and the American said, look, in my country I can walk into the Oval Office, I can pound the president's desk and say, Mr. President, I don't like the way you're running our country. And the Russian said, I can do that. The American said, you can? He says, yes. I can go into the Kremlin to the General Secretary's office, pound his desk and say, Mr. General Secretary, I don't like the way President Reagan's running his country.
Okay, Ronald Reagan. Boy, we sure miss him. Okay, we're talking about Senator Mitch McConnell, and he's going to give us a little bit of an update with regard to President Trump and how President Trump has done the last 5 weeks. So he gave an interview and talked about that. We've pulled some clips. It was a fairly long interview, so we had to go in and slice it and dice it a bit. But here's what Mitch McConnell himself had to say about Donald Trump.
Breaking tonight, President Trump will be heading over to Capitol Hill shortly. And earlier today, I had a chance to sit down exclusively with one of the main men who will help push the president's agenda through Congress. In fact, he may be the most important one, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. We discussed the goals moving forward, including what to do about Obamacare. Watch. We heard President Trump in the CPAC speech the other day say that the time of empty talk is over, and this is the era of action. Do you agree with him?
I do. You know, everybody talked about last year's election as being a change election. Actually, it wasn't for Congress. The American people reelected a Republican Senate and a Republican House and gave us a president who will sign our agenda. And I really like what the president's doing. I think the cabinet appointments have been terrific. The Supreme Court nomination, truly outstanding. He's beginning to move on deregulating an overregulated America. And of course, we're going to fix the health care system and do comprehensive tax reform. All of that stuff would amount to an incredibly successful Congress. And we're excited about having somebody who will sign into law the things that we've been advocating for years. But in the meantime, we're also taking regulations that have overregulated the economy off the books, both through his own actions and other actions that we can initiate that he can sign.
So it kind of sounds like I think Mitch McConnell likes Mr. Trump. It looks like he's going to be pushing those initiatives, trying to get his agendas situated. And I think that Mitch McConnell is quite powerful up there. So I think he's going to kind of step in front of a couple issues for Trump to try to keep the evil tigers and lions and liberals, oh my, from bothering him. But one thing I'm listening to when these clips come up here, and I listen to Mitch McConnell, and if you listen, doesn't he sound like an old Jimmy Stewart? Well, you say, Trump, I say, he's a Republican president, and now we got a Republican president he'll sign. You say he'll sign what we put in front of him, pretty much. Well, that's what I think. The last president was mean or something. I don't know. We couldn't get along at all. But yeah, we're pretty happy about him. Yeah. So is it me or does Mitch McConnell sound like Jimmy Stewart? Oh well. Now you see the next clip you hear, you'll be thinking of Jimmy Stewart.
Senate, a Republican president.
And who's driving the process? Because when President Obama did it, he sort of left it up to Congress to formulate that plan, and he was criticized for that. So where's it coming from now, the White House or from Capitol Hill?
Well, the Secretary of Health and Human Services, under the law that was passed 8 years ago, has a lot of discretion. So we're working with the new Secretary, Tom Price, to stabilize the health insurance market. Some of the things he can do on his own, some will require legislation, but we're working hand in hand to come up with a better healthcare system than we have now, which is completely and totally unsustainable.
Yeah, it's completely and it's totally unsustainable. Sorry, didn't know it was on. The next thing we got to talk about here is immigration reform time, and I think it's been immigration reform time for let me see. I'm going to say what 9 years, something like that. And we need to balance that. I bet what? I bet myself? No. We need to balance this a bit. Here's why. We really don't want good people being pulled out of the country. You know, when we talked about this, I think last week here, as far as mothers, grandmothers, and working fathers, good people who are trying to make something of themselves. Now, the criminals, the bad guys, the gang members, the drug people, the drug cartel, these are the folks we want to have out of the country. And I don't know if anybody would disagree with that. I can't imagine someone saying, oh, I don't know, Mike. I think we probably should keep them drug dealers. Well, probably not. So we really need to look at what's going on here with immigration. And I know that the mainstream media is blowing it way out of proportion. And of course, there are people that are scared, sure, because this has been where they have hung their hat for a long time, and they probably are scared. But those are the folks, if they're not criminals, I think we need to take a couple steps back. Bad guys got to go, good guys can stay.
This matter of immigration, there's news here, right?
Oh, absolutely. And let me just put this in a context. I would say it was a kinder, gentler Donald Trump that we saw today, and that one of the very first things he talked about when he was discussing his speech was the idea of unity and reaching out to Democrats and talking about areas where both sides can work together. And it was in this context that a senior administration official said that the president thinks the time is right for immigration reform, and that came as kind of a surprise, but the president apparently feels, not necessarily that he's going to mention it in his speech, although he may, but this clearly would be something that he would be reaching out to Democrats on. And you asked about comprehensive immigration reform. Yeah, again, according to the senior administration official, he's talking about something that would appeal both to the right and to the left. Obviously, from the right's point of view, tougher enforcement, tougher deportations, although I will say only when it comes to people that are criminals, violent criminals. The president said people that are abiding by the law, are in this country, pay their taxes, work, haven't created any problems other than coming in illegally, would have no problems. And it was in that context he talked about the possibility of a comprehensive immigration reform plan that would include a path to legalization, not citizenship, because the president reportedly feels that, people that have been waiting online and doing it the right way, the people who are in the country and broke the law shouldn't jump the line, but that there would be a path to legalization, and also that one is not thinking about deporting those folks, and is also that the dreamers will be fine. So this clearly is an olive branch that he's going to be extending, whether it's in the course of the speech tonight or in coming days, to Democrats, to say there are areas of cooperation here.
So some areas of cooperation, that sounds good, and it sounds like the president is trying to take some of that fear out of the country. At the same time, he is taking the struggle out between the right and the left. So now they're going to have to find something else to hoot and holler about. Well, folks, that's our show, and I hope you appreciated it. Again, we really appreciate all the nice things that we're hearing, and things that we hear on the street, or I get through the other emails. So thank you. It means a lot. It really does mean a lot. And if there's ever an issue that you'd like to talk about, we have our email address, which is kcv447@gmail.com, and that's for the Spearsy Spin. So you get on there and send us a nice message. Don't send us mean messages, because the lady that reads them, she'll cry, and it'll be you don't want that, no, because she gets going, the tears, and anyway. But that's our show. Thanks so much for tuning in, and always remember that, look, there's only one world. Let's all see if we can live in it. We'll see you tomorrow.
Tell your friends and neighbors about the Spearsy Spin.